On school mornings my father would prepare breakfast, reheated porridge with golden syrup, bacon, toast, while his sons applied themselves to shoe cleaning and kitchen stove duty, rake out the ashes, refill with coke. But male culinary competence was clearly limited to such matutinal dabbling. This was made plain one time when my mother was called away. My father prepared my packed lunch, and, not understanding the theory of the sandwich, lovingly inserted extra items that he knew I especially liked. A few hours later, on a southern region train to an out-of-town sports field, I opened my lunch bag in front of fellow rugby players. My sandwiches were sodden, falling to bits, and bright red from the paternally cut beetroot. They blushed for me as I blushed for their contriver. And as with sex, politics, and religion, so with cooking. By the time I began finding out about it for myself, it was too late to ask my parents. They had failed to instruct me, and I would punish them by not asking now. I was in my mid-20s and reading for the bar. Some of the food I concocted at that time was criminal. Top of my range was bacon chop, peas, and potatoes. The peas were frozen, of course. The potatoes were tinned, pre-peeled, and came in a sweetish brine I liked to drink. The bacon chop was unlike anything subsequently encountered under that name. Boneless, pre-shaped, and of a luminous pink, it was distinguished by its ability to keep a fluorescent hue however long you cooked it. This gave much latitude to the chef. It wasn't undercooked unless positively cold, or overcooked unless coal-black and alight. Then butter was lavished on the peas, the potatoes, and usually the chop as well. The key factors governing my cooking at this time were poverty, lack of skill, and gastronomic conservatism. Others might have lived on offal. Tinned tongue was as near as I would go to that, though corned beef doubtless contained body parts that would have been unwelcome in their original form. One staple was breast of lamb, easy to roast, fairly easy to see when it was done, large enough to yield 3 successive dinners for about £1. Then I graduated to shoulder of lamb. With this I would serve an enormous leek, carrot, and potato pie made from a recipe in the London Evening Standard. The pie's cheese sauce always tasted strongly of flour, though this gradually diminished with daily reheating. Only later did I work out why. My repertoire broadened. Meat and vegetables were the main things to be, if not mastered, at least somewhat tamed. Then came puddings and the odd soup. Later, much later, gratins, pasta, risotto, soufflés. Fish was always a problem, and is still only half solved. On home visits, it emerged that I cooked. My father observed this development with the mild liberal suspicion previously deployed when I was spotted reading the Communist Manifesto, or when I forced him to listen to Bartók's string quartets. If this is as bad as it gets, his attitude seemed to imply, then I can probably handle it. My mother was happier. Daughterless, she at least had one child who retrospectively appreciated her years in the galley. Not that we sat around swapping recipes, but she noted the covetous eye I now laid on her ancient copy of Mrs. Beeton. My brother, shielded by collegiate life and marriage, didn't cook anything beyond a fried egg until his 50s. The result of all this, and I doggedly blame the all this rather than myself, is that while I now cook with enthusiasm and pleasure, I do so with little sense of freedom or imagination. I need an exact shopping list and an avuncular cookbook. The idea of carefree marketing, waltzing off with wicker basket over the arm, relaxedly buying what the day has best to offer, and then contriving it into something which might or might not have been made before, will always be beyond me. In the kitchen, I am an anxious pedant. I adhere to gas marks and cooking times. I trust instruments rather than myself. I doubt I shall ever test whether a chunk of meat is done by prodding it with my forefinger. The only liberty I take with a recipe is to increase the quantity of an ingredient of which I particularly approve. That this is not an infallible precept was confirmed by an epically filthy dish I once made involving mackerel, martini, and breadcrumbs. The guests were more drunk than sated.